like to welcome you to BOI Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to BOI Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Evolve Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty.
Hello, Incredibles. Welcome to BOI Meets Wellness. Today's episode is very unique. I had the opportunity to sit down and interview four amazing individuals: Sir Lex Kennedy, Dr. Maisha Davis, D.L. Aldridge, and Zami Hyemingway for my first virtual live podcast recording with the University of California, Santa Cruz Queer Career Series. So for today's episodes, we are focusing on career, innovation, and taking your queer career to the next level. Today's episode is brought to you by Mar Media Productions. Mar Media Productions is a company that produces, publishes, and uplifts the stories, art, and journeys of queer and trans people of color and the people who make our lives incredible. If you're enjoying the content we are producing on the podcast, please share with your friends, family, and loved ones. Also, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate you. You can leave that on Apple Podcasts, Android, Spotify, everywhere. We are being incredible. Thank you so much to Travis Becker and his team at UC Santa Cruz for welcoming me and my boys to share our wisdom and knowledge around navigating and growing your career as a queer professional. Thank you to all the panelists for agreeing to share their stories. Y'all, this is some free game for the BOI Meets Wellness family. I hope you enjoy.
I'll start by introducing our panelists with Mars, and we got quite the lineup. First, D.L. Aldridge, pronouns he, él, is a Latinx trans man born in Limón, Costa Rica, and raised in Southern California. D.L. currently serves as a special assistant to the Dean and Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the School of Art Institute of Chicago, and is also actively engaged in community organizing as the Director of Program and Operations for Pride Southside Chicago. D.L. also recently started Chosen Lifestyle Properties, LLC, an organization that provides sober living housing for individuals who may not qualify for apartments due to socioeconomic status, past nonviolent crimes, or homelessness. D.L. also sometimes needs a nap. Next, we have Zami Hyemingway, who is a trans of center healer, community space holder, and prison abolitionist. By day, Zami works as an outpatient case manager for the re-entry community, working alongside those who are often seen as disposable and unworthy of love and compassion, learning how to heal, thrive, and create a new life for themselves. When not working as a case manager, Zami is a wellness and spiritual coach as the founder and CEO of Spiritus Wellness, which provides a holistic approach to health and wellness for marginalized communities. Zami has a master's in social work, a master's of art and social transformation, is an IFA initiate, ordained minister, as well as a certified professional trainer and nutritionist. You can find Zami's free wellness tips via his weekly Wellness Wednesday videos on Instagram. Zami believes that if we focus on our individual as well as collective healing, then we will begin to create a world with more love, authenticity, and kindness.
Thanks, Adon. Now I will introduce Sir Lex Kennedy and Maisha Davis. Sir Lex Kennedy is a writer, director, and producer, born in a highly religious family to a single mother determined to give her children a different life. Sir always pushed back on every box he was being socialized to fit into. Learning the power of his voice and advocacy through art, Sir was able to define himself and design himself to be the creator he is today. Sir Lex Kennedy is a vegan, queer, transmedia content creator who loves film, music, gardening, and the beach, and believes a ball is life. Lex studied comparative women's studies and film at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, before being forced to leave and finished his studies at the Los Angeles City College in their film program. As an artist and activist, Sir Lex strives to bring marginalized stories to the center of popular culture through comedy series and documentaries. Sir Lex has directed multiple short films featured in film festivals like Campus Movie Fest and Outfest through their inaugural Outset program and across the world, winning numerous awards. Sir Lex completed a sound fellowship this past fall for Disclosure, a documentary which recently premiered at Sundance. Lex worked as a producer for Tribune Creative West KTLA5 in Los Angeles, California. He's currently working for ABC7 Disney until his contract ends due to the COVID-19. Then we have Maisha Davis, family medicine physician. Maisha Davis is a family medicine physician living in Oakland, California, whose educational path has led them through Stanford, Mills, UCSF, and UC Berkeley. They are dedicated to keeping the art in the art of healing by thinking outside the box and centering patients' humanities. Maisha's healing focus revolves around bringing integrative medicine to Black and Brown communities, queer and trans folks, individuals living with HIV, and adolescents. They love music, sci-fi, culture. They want to be a DJ and can be found at innumerable concerts, theaters, museums, and dance parties throughout the Bay Area. We will take a deep dive in these panelists' lives and journeys as queer professionals, and then after that, we will wrap it up with a Q&A. So welcome our panelists, y'all.
Woo! Y'all are so great. Y'all are so great. I'm so excited about this. So I'm gonna be honest with y'all. When Travis was like, I could do a panel, I felt so much anxiety about it being all Black people. And then my partner was like, no, we deserve. And I was like, we do deserve. So seeing the flyer, seeing y'all put that together, it was so phenomenal. And just knowing that I know y'all is so phenomenal. So as we jump in, can y'all just...
And it's not even February.
It's not even February. Oh, Dio! Me and Dio be having praise reports, y'all. So we're going to have one after this. You know we are. So can you just start off, panelists, with... I'll call your names because we're not in person, so you won't be able to see me. So Zami, can you just start off with your name, pronoun, and what brings you joy?
Greetings, everyone. My name is Zami. I actually don't prefer pronouns, so I go by Zami, but professionally, most people default to he and him, which I'm fine with as well. And currently what brings me joy is really just my spiritual family and extended family. I had a rough 24 hours. And my spiritual family came through and my partner came through and just, I'm an IFA initiate. That's what IFA is. I'm an IFA initiate. And my faith brings me so much joy on a regular basis and just really came through for me last night. So,
Dio.
I'm bad at the unmute sometimes, but hi everybody. My name is Dio. I use he and L pronouns. What brings me joy? I love comedy and I love watching funny things. It keeps me going. Sometimes I wonder if I'm actually managing what I go through or if I'm actually just laughing. But anyway, I love, so that, and recently, it was funny, last night I watched a Luther Vandross documentary, and it was just everything that I needed. And it was one of the first times I saw him speak about whether or not he was queer, and he was like, it's not y'all's business. And I was like, Luther. But then, and it was funny because, I'm Latinx and I of course love like Spanish music. And I was sitting there and I was like, Luther Vandross, Juan Gabriel. I don't know. There's some connections there that are hilarious and I love on that SoCal. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, that's what brings me joy.
Thanks, Dio. Maisha.
Hi, I'm muting. Dio, you're so right. It's hard. I'm Maisha. I use they, them pronouns for the most part. And what brings me joy? I've been doing a lot of dancing in my kitchen because I love music. And spiritually, I worship at the altar of house, specifically house music, Afro house music. So I would say that dancing and singing and music bring me so much joy.
Yes, your hair look like it's on fleek too.
Oh my gosh, I twisted my own locks for the first time yesterday. Thank you. It's not as good as Omar, but it's okay.
Yes, I hear that.
Deep sigh.
Deep sigh. Sir Lex, what's up?
Good evening. My pronouns are he and him. And what's bringing me joy right now is watching The Last Dance. Ball is life for me. I love basketball. like Evolve said earlier, we do have a rivalry of sorts. I am a Warriors fan, so shout out to everybody in the Bay Area right now. Y'all already know Warriors. So watching The Last Dance has been awesome because we don't have basketball right now, and being able to talk about it has brought me a lot of joy with Evolve on our new podcast, Highly Medicated and Opinionated. So yeah, watching basketball has been bringing me joy.
I see you, Lex Kennedy, with the plug. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to jump into a couple of questions with y'all. I'm going to do it that way. Just popcorn y'all and call some names. Zami, what would you say? I know you say your dream job was helping people. Do you feel like that has came to manifestation? Is your dream job connected to what you do now? And other panelists, I'm gonna ask y'all to dive in on the same thing, but I'm just gonna popcorn your name, so be thinking about that answer.
I say, yeah. So ever since I was a kid, I was always just trying to be helpful. I would give people, my mom once was like, stop giving people your money. Because I was that kid, if I had cash on me and someone, outside the grocery store on the corner was like, hey, does anyone have spare change? Other people walk by. If I had a 20 in my wallet, I would give them a 20. And I just remember my mom being like, don't give them a 20, give them that dollar bill or whatever. And I was like, don't mess with my blessing. I just remember saying that to my mom as like a 7 or 8 year old. My entire life, it was either I wanted to be a lawyer, but I wanted to be a public defender, or I wanted to be a doctor and work in low income neighborhoods. Like whenever I talked about what type of work I wanted to do, I always wanted to make sure it's with folks who are most marginalized, because that's how I grew up. Now I run my own wellness business, which, as a trans person, it feels amazing to be able to help people around their holistic wellness. And a lot of people look at me and their first response is, oh, how can I get a 6-pack or something like that? And I'm like, yeah, we could work together. And then we start working together and they're like, Zami, I thought we were going to work together. You were going to put me on like none but chicken breasts and rice and broccoli and stuff like that. And, instead you're telling me I need to get Olympia and how to, eat in a balanced way and organize my budget, like just all these things. And, I just get to tell people that, wellness isn't just about how we physically look. It's about every aspect of our life. And so being able to, in many ways, decolonize wellness has helped me begin to live my dream job of helping people heal from all facets of life. And my work with the reentry community, the same thing. I actually recently got promoted to supervisor yesterday. And so I'm a supervisor for the outpatient case managers, really being able to talk to folks who have extremely violent backgrounds around like, how do you care for yourself? How do you practice mindfulness and intentionality? How do you shift the narrative? How do you find different forms of masculinity? Things like that. I feel that if by the way that I look, I'm able to connect with people on some of their beliefs that if I didn't look the way I look, they probably wouldn't hear me out. And so really recognizing the privilege I have around the body that I hold and utilizing that privilege to help other communities who wouldn't see me as an ally or see me as themselves shift their behavior to make a safer world for everyone. And so, like right now I'm able to just help people in so many different ways. And I feel like I'm living my dream job working my dream job because of that.
Thank you so much, Zami. I worked with Zami last year, a phenomenal trainer, y'all, does distance training. I miss you, Zami. We'll probably be working together soon because you just gave me a moment and I was like, I need some reconnection on this level. Sir Lex, can you tap into that question? What was your dream and are you living it now?
So my dream doodle was a script sitting on a table, being read by the lead character. And for me, I feel like I'm being pushed, thank you, into that dream more because I am saying like by hook or by crook, we are making retros and we're going to do it. Like I'm giving myself permission. I recently had my contract not picked up by ABC Disney because of COVID-19. and the company hiring freeze. And it really allowed me to like shift and say, okay, like I can put all of these scripts that I have been dreaming about being like this amazing script writer and director, putting them aside to work on producing other products for other companies. I can finally like shift that energy into producing my projects. So for me, the doodle earlier in the workshop is what I'm actually like manifesting currently. The table read that I want to have with the lead character that I want. You know, for me, like I know I want an actor who is SAG-AFTRA, and I don't have SAG-AFTRA money, but I'm not even looking from that space, right? Like I'm looking from a space of abundance, and that it doesn't matter. Like ask that person, you know, you don't know what they're doing right now. If they want to do it, you know, they might be just chilling, reading scripts right now, wanting to be able to stretch that muscle. So, so that's part of me. So am I living my dream? Yes, I'm giving myself permission now to live my dream despite my circumstance.
Praise report. Dio is having a praise dance moment over there. I see you, Dio.
You know, the church.
We're gonna call that into existence today and right now. I can't wait for retros to drop. Lex Kennedy, I can't wait. Maisha, Dr. Davis, did you dream? Did you dream? Are you living the dream?
Oh man, a year ago I probably would have said no. I think it's interesting what you were saying, Lex, because I think this whole COVID-19 situation that we're all going through has given a lot of us space and time to kind of take a step back and look to see, really like make a intentional assessment of where we are. And I do think that I am kind of living my dream. My dream was really kind of just to be a shaman, y'all, and to be able to like dance and sing and like do stuff and do magic and heal people. But I realized I wasn't going to be able to reach my people by doing that in the way that I wanted to. And so I went to med school instead and have found a way to integrate a lot of those kind of artistic elements and a lot of the like holistic elements into the work that I do. And so I was realizing the other day while I was working from home in my sunroom, like sun beaming down at sunset, being able to like talk to this Black woman who I gave my cell phone number to so I could help her through a really rough patch over the weekend, and not being drained by the work that I was doing, but instead being like enlivened by it. That's, you know, I realize I am living my dream. I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm helping people, you know, not necessarily curing people, because I think we go to med school and there's a lot of this, oh, well, we have to solve this problem and A plus B equals C. And if we don't get to C, then we failed. And that's really not it. It's like the A plus B is that process of trying to help people achieve wellness in whatever ways that they can. I don't like what Zami is talking about. So yeah, I'm living my dream.
You know, we got to start off with the strength-based questions. We'll get there. So Dio, I miss you, Dio. Yeah. Come back to California.
I miss you too. Trust me, y'all. It's like, it was gray today. It was raining, and I was like, Lord have mercy. But what am I missing? Am I living my dream? I would say yes. I would say that I have multiple dreams, and I'm living a few of them. I think like I have like, yeah, I'm that person who wakes up every day like, oh man, or maybe not every day, but a lot of days like, oh my God, what about this idea? What about this idea? I think that might be like an artist thing where you have all the things in your head at once and you have to compartmentalize which one comes first, which maybe that's a question I have for everybody at the end of the panel, is how you manage that. Yeah, I think when you initially asked the question, I thought through what my little self would think, you know, and if 10-year-old Dio would be proud of who I am today. And absolutely, because I did not think I would be in this place of my life at all, or that I could be living this open and freely. And I think absolutely living my dream. And I think there's a myth that you hear that, you know, on the other side of queerness isn't like family and love, you know, like the only family that you have is your blood, you know. And I think my dream is definitely, you know, thinking about my partner and thinking about the love that we've created, but also like my family and my people. You know, E's on my screen. I've known E's for a minute, since I was like undergrad, I think. So it's just a trip to like, you know, have things come full circle, and it's all love, and I get so much love from like community and people. So That's the dream.
Peace, Dio. Peace, Dio. Me and Dio actually met at NASPA, which is a professional conference for higher education professionals. So shouts out to networking. We talked a little bit about that in the presentation. It's more important for me to network with my queer folks than anybody. Like, if y'all go to any of those conferences, go to all the Cutie Pox spaces and the other ones, tread lightly. Trust me, just tread lightly. One networking tip for the introverts is just stand in the middle of the room and all the extroverts will come to you and give you all the tea. You don't have to do no work. Just stand in the middle of the room. They will give you all the tea, come by, tell you everything. So my next question for the panel, and we're going to start off with Maisha, is what is the biggest challenge in your field at the moment? I know, right? I got to start with you on that one.
Man. I mean, working in a system that was already broken at time of a pandemic where the response has like been completely inadequate and being left to our own devices. I think right now we're really seeing, like, a lot of us already knew that the system was broken, knew that things had to change, have some ideas about the way we dispense healthcare in America needed to change. But now we're just like seeing those downstream effects just be exacerbated by this disease, right? We already knew that lots of people of color, lots of people who've been disenfranchised in many ways have this higher burden of chronic illness, right? And what we're seeing now is that those people are also dying more because COVID-19 tends to kill people who have these conditions, which are really issues and downstream effects of structural racism, which is what our country has been built on. So I think, like, our biggest challenge hasn't really changed. It's just been emphasized by what it is that's going on. And really, like, not having, today is the third day in a row I've worn the same surgical mask at the clinic. It's not that big of a deal in that I'm not actually seeing very many patients in clinic, so it's still relatively clean. But like, I shouldn't even be having to think about trying to save my surgical mask every day because we're worried about running out of protective equipment to be able to treat people. You know, like, that's not something we should be having to worry about. That's the least of it. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges now, and really trying to keep up. We get like emails every day with changes in policies, and managing everybody's anxiety around everything has been super challenging as well.
Well, thank you so much for still going to work, still doing the thing, being one of
Still
our
here,
essential employers.
Still queer.
Yes, thank you so much. And I really want to give gratitude to you because you was at work today and you on here tonight. So I really appreciate all that you're giving our community and all that you continue to provide, not just in the clinical environment, but even in these type of spaces. So thank you for answering that. Dio, what about you? What's the challenge right now?
I mean, you could tell me too, in terms of so I have multiple lanes, right? So I have my higher education, right? Working in an art school environment, right? So of course, higher education is hit very hard right now on multiple levels, right? And thinking about students, right? Impacting, of course, their work in the classroom, but also in thinking about Black queer students and thinking about, again, some of the issues that you mentioned earlier, Maisha, right? Like, this is disproportionately impacting certain people. And so that's just, and money and funding, right? And just thinking about how it's going to go where. And I mean, I'm not necessarily managing that part, but I know that the impact of that is essentially going to impact my role and how I work and how I move. So, but we gonna make it, y'all. You know, we gonna make it. And we gonna do it. So that's an issue. That's a struggle. And I think, but it's interesting because the work that I do in my housing is particularly geared towards folks who are impacted by socioeconomic status. So like, my mom thought I was crazy, but my mom's a social worker. It's funny. And she is the most well-intentioned person. And when I told her what I wanted to do, she was like, you need to work with a program. You shouldn't be doing this by yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love my baby, but, you know, like, I know what, you know, and I was like, you know, and I was like, Mom, you know, my heart's in the right place. Right. And because of that decision, the people that live here are folks who are already in these social structures. So they're looking at me like, yo, I'm actually like, I can't. They're looking at me like, I can help you. And I'm like, no, you can't, man. Like, you need to, this is your moment to come up and like, let's talk about how we save now. Like, you know what I mean? Let's work. Let's figure this out. So that's really interesting on that tip, right? Because I would think it would be I'm in this very privileged space, and that's very much having a hard time. And then in higher education, and then this world where I created that's not, they're impacted, of course, of what's happening.
Thanks for sharing that, Dio. I think that's the importance of multiple streams of income. That was something that was not in the presentation, but I always tell folks, have multiple streams, y'all, multiple lanes. If you got that book or zine you've been wanting to put out, this is the time to publish it. Right? Like just multiple streams of income. So thank you, Dio. Thank you. Yeah. I was in a budget meeting today and people were crying. So higher education, it's real. Yeah. It's real, y'all. It's real out here right now. They're very much being impacted by the loss of money from athletics, and then also housing when you think about it, right? Like that's really a lot of the profit. So, yep, very interesting time. So, Lex Kennedy, challenges.
So for me, a major challenge is taking on LinkedIn, picking up new connections, getting into the workforce, now being being new to the workforce. I really enjoyed this workshop. I just want to give you props, Evolve, because I'm new to LinkedIn. I'm trying to figure out, I'm watching different videos and conversations and really bringing out the why and understanding, how to craft that why is really helpful for me right now, because I'm looking at how can I build my network to create this series during this pandemic, right? Like, how can I reach out to folks and set up a table read and think of creative ways to promote and essentially shoot this series and bring to light this content that I've been putting aside because I've been working on other projects. So that's like a super challenging thing for me right now. But I'm feeling super empowered by, like I said, watching this workshop and also like seeing different stuff organically happen. I don't know how many folks are like on the gram, but like seeing Club Quarantine pop off the way it did for DJ D Nice. I know we might have some folks. I know Maisha said that they were really into house music and, wanted to be a DJ, but I thought it was so cool, right? As somebody who also loves to DJ and loves music, to see, a DJ who probably has lost a lot of gigs, just hop on and provide folks a service for the love of music, right? And that turned into him now being booked with MTV and ABC, right? Disney. I was like, oh, okay, we can get furlough and y'all can, freeze, but you can give. But I was like, no, I'm not even gonna be mad because at least, my man's getting his money. But at the same time, like, it just made me think like, okay, if you are creating from a place of passion, like, what is your why? And maybe for him, it was like, I just want to give people an outlet, and that outlet turned into like him being able to provide that space digitally in other spaces. So I'm just trying to think about like, okay, it's challenging right now. I don't really know what it's like to go get a at-home, at-work production job, right? I'm fresh to LinkedIn, but I have the tools, I have the network like you were bringing up. And, I have folks that are, willing to support and are interested, so like I can make it happen. But it's been like hella challenges. Like, literally, full disclosure, I never had been let go from a position or been fired. And this is like the first time in life as an adult. And it's just like, wow, this is what this is like. Okay. But because I'm queer and trans and I'm self-made, like, it's just like, okay, we got to start over. Okay, we have the tools. We know what to do. We can make it shake. You got this. It's just like, I have to be reminded, like, it's challenging, but I have this.
Thanks for sharing that, Lex, and thanks for your vulnerability and transparency. I got your back. We're going to get retros on the map. Shouts out to Lex Kennedy and the Boy Gear. Shouts out to Boy Gear. That's my clothing brand. And Lex, I would love when we talk about ways to get involved for you to talk about the Film Fest and a little bit about the project. So Zami, last but never least, what are some challenges you're experiencing?
Currently, so on the wellness side, some of the challenges is a lot of folks a lot of folks in the wellness industry are losing clients and their jobs. So folks who are working in gyms, for example, they can't work. And I'm fortunate enough to have already transitioned out of gyms and do online and distance training. And so I haven't been as affected as some of my colleagues because I had already set up an online structure for my wellness business. With that said, a lot of folks who were on my wait list, because I only work with a certain amount of people at a time, have contacted me as like, yo, I lost my job, or I feel like I might be losing my job. And so they pulled out, which I understand, and I'm not upset about it because I also have multiple streams of income. And, if you are stressed about paying for wellness, and like you're not going to be successful, it is more important for you to feel like you are able to thrive and be able to take care of your livelihood than try to pay me for my services. So when people have been needing to pull out, I'm just like, I understand that. Any of the folks who already paid, I've given them the option of getting a refund or just keeping it there. And when they're ready to pick back up, we just pick it back up. And so that's been a challenge on the wellness side. For my other job, for the reentry population, it's been a real struggle because most of the people who we're working with are fresh out of prison and on parole, don't have ID cards, social security cards, birth certificates, don't have medical cards, food stamps, nothing. And all of these public service or human service agencies are closed. And so trying to get folks who really don't have any of their basic needs getting them met has been a huge challenge. Having to be on a call that typically would take 15 minutes for almost 2 hours, having to, find different ways to apply for things or find money to get someone's ID card. Because, yes, it's $12, but if you're just out of prison, most folks don't have $12, and we're not allowed to pay for it. So really just trying to figure out how to get people their basic needs, and then also having to explain to someone who spent the last 15 years in prison why they're not able to leave the property, And so working with a population who's been behind bars for a large portion of their life, being released during a health pandemic, a global health pandemic, and then us telling them you're restricted to property, they just feel that they're locked up again. And so having to work with folks around their triggers and trying to build that rapport where, many of them are like, you're just as bad as my CO. And so that's been a real challenge right now because I understand you thought you were going to come here and be able to at least go to the, QT up the street to get a drink, a soda or something like that. And, you can't go anywhere unless one of us take you, and you have to wear a mask and gloves. And so it's been a real challenge really trying to figure out ways to give people their basic needs, but also really addressing the emotional needs of a lot of our clients and working with people who weren't given the tools to express or articulate their emotional needs verbally, and many of them wanting to act out either through using or violence, and trying to work with them and teaching them new skills while they're in the middle of detoxing, while they're in the middle of stressing out, while they're in the middle of feeling like they're locked up again.
Thank y'all. Y'all did exactly what I thought y'all would do, which is to show that there's always a bit of challenge in our dreams, right? And I think that is what comes up in most queer and trans people of color, especially Black folks' journeys. So I'm going to be mindful of time. We only have about 20, maybe 25 minutes if we go a little bit over. So I do want to switch over to our Q&A, but before we head to that from the audience, I just wanted you all to tap in on this one last question, which is just one piece of advice you would give someone starting out in your field. And then if you have product, a brand, or multiple streams, how can folks support that? And then we will jump over into our Q&A. So let's start off with Lex Kennedy.
we will be launching the Black Film Fest digitally. This year, we were excited. When I say we, I mean Evolve and myself. We were super honored and blessed to be able to launch the Black Film Fest during Martin Luther King Jr. weekend here in Los Angeles. And we were able to screen films from Black, queer, trans, gender nonconforming, and non-binary folks films. And we're excited to be able to do it digitally. We were thinking of having it in another physical space for Juneteenth, but we are going to roll that into a digital space. So we'll be hosting the Black Film Fest again, Juneteenth this year. So mark your calendars for that. If you are creative, please reach out to me on Instagram at ICU Sir Lex. I'm really excited about producing retros. What was the other thing I was supposed to talk about, Evolve?
Advice you would give to folks.
Yes, advice. So the advice I would give to folks entering the film and TV news industry is to bet on yourself. There is, what I loved about your presentation is you spoke about the two-sided version, how interviews, are two-way streets, right? You're interviewing that company, you're interviewing that business at the same time they're interviewing you. I feel like it is essential to bet on yourself that you are there for a reason, and there's a reason why you're sitting there, and they want you to be a part of that crew. They want you to be a part of that newsroom. So let that light and that confidence shine, and don't filter yourself, right? The brighter you shine, the brighter the folks around you shine, right? And always remember that.
Thanks, Lex. Shout out to Black Film Fest. That's BLAQ Film Fest. Just to let y'all know. Zami, I keep screaming your name like Oprah because I'm hella excited.
I'm excited about that. So if you wanna, I'm in the middle of redoing my website, but my website is spirituswellness.com. I should know that. One advice, always remember your website. But if .com doesn't work, then it's .org. But spirituswellness.com, I believe. And then I sell these shirts that say, "How's your heart today?" My little screen won't let me do it.
Yeah, one is going to be raffled off today. So shouts out to Zami for the shirt.
Awesome. But how's your heart today? That's one of the questions I ask my clients every single time, my wellness clients every single time that we meet, because I feel it's important to center your heart and your wellness and everything that we do. So how's your heart today? When most wellness and fitness experts are just talking about your body fat, I'm talking about what's going on with your heart and your spirit. So I just wanted to plug that real quick. And then advice, there's two pieces of advice. One piece of advice that I have for folks is to remember that what you do in your past is going to serve you in your future. And I say that because whether you've acted a fool in your past or you were perfect in the past, at some point it's going to come back, and that's going to be what lands you the job or what might make it difficult for you to get that job. And in my past, I was very vocal and would pop off here and there. And earlier in my career, I had a reputation of don't mess with Zami, but he's damn good at his job. And so that has served me for 11 years. That is like, he's not someone to mess with, but he is someone to have on your side and work with. And people have seen me grow and develop over the years. And that's how I got my current position as a case manager, and not even working for that agency for 3 months. I've already been promoted to a supervisor now. And that has also served me when it comes to asking for what I'm worth, which is the second advice. You definitely need to ask for what you're worth, and not what you think that you're worth. And the reason why I say that is sometimes I'll say, okay, I think I'm worth being paid $15 or $16 an hour. But I'm actually worth being paid 20. And if I'm not willing to ask for that 20, people are going to continue to take advantage of my labor and my expertise, and I'm going to continue to be burnt out, but not be able to thrive, which is something that I teach other people to do. So if I'm telling other people they need to be able to thrive, know their worth, ask for their worth, then I need to practice that as well. So ask for what you're worth, not just what you think you are. And yes, be authentic and be consistent. Consistency is also key. So again, even if in your past you were popping off and stuff like that, I was consistent in the amount of work that I did, the type of work that I did, you know, and what I produced. And so people always knew, yo, like, I can't dick Zami around. But you know, so folks who had a hard time with being transparent or had a hard time with being challenged, they have to really sit with themselves and be like, oh, I know he's just not going to do what I tell him to do if he don't want to. Because they knew I would be like, yo, that's not what I think is best. This is what I think is best. And I didn't care what your title was. But I was consistent over the years. I've learned how to communicate with a little more sugar. Maferi Funo Shun with the honey coming through for me. And yeah, I was very consistent. So those are my pieces of advice. I think I answered everything.
You did. Thank you so much, Zami. I thought you were going to say I was consistently popping off. I thought that was coming in your comment. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dio.
That's exactly what I thought. I was you were going to say. Oh, yeah. I think and like the example that I gave earlier, I think it's a good example of intention and being sure that you're intentional about everything that you do in your career, right? Because ultimately, I went in with the intention to serve and to be support, right, to others. And everybody else was telling me to be safe, find you a family of two, and you know, move them upstairs so you don't have to worry about nothing. And like, but when you stick to that intentionality and where your purpose is, it will manifest itself. Another thing, to learn from every single experience. I think whether it be good, bad, ugly, terrible, whether it's a bad supervisor, whether it's, you know, a bad neighbor, whether it's whatever it may be, because when you learn from those experiences, it teaches you what not to do when you're in that position at another point, right? And I think especially as I know on the screen, you're going to be, I mean, you are already leaders, right? And at another point, if you're not already, you might be a supervisor, right? You might be managing other people, or you might, right? So we want to make sure that you are modeling what that looks like in the way that you walk and the way that you move through the world, right? Because ultimately, you know, actions and words, right? I could sit here all day and talk about how great I am and whatever, etc. But at the end of the day, if I'm not acting, you know, you should act your actions, right? People shouldn't have to hear them. And that's how I try to move through the world. And yeah, my uncle, he's like one of the people I look up to, and he was always just like, you know, be the example, you know, you can't tell other people what to do. You got to do what you're supposed to be doing, you know, and act accordingly. And I wanted to share too. I shared this with Evolve while I was moving some things around, because, you know, this quarantine got me Marie Kondo out here. I found this letter from my grandpa that he had written. I had taken it when he passed. And it's funny because I don't think if he was alive, you know, me being queer and trans would have probably been a little bit of a struggle. But I definitely believe now that he's on the other side, he's like my biggest supporter and hero. And I think it also relates to, it's funny, this is what he wrote. Now is the time to be authentic. You sell yourself shortly when you deny your inner truth to modify other people. If you are being inauthentic, sooner or later, other people will know. Life behind a mask is lonely, unless it's COVID-19 and you're supposed to be doing it. So remember that. Reducing you to less than the person God created you to be. And so that's something my grandpa wrote. Like, this is a copy, so it was older. Cause I put the physical letter somewhere else. But I just think it's funny because, you know, he's a, you know, straight cis man, but with the most tender heart. And he was talking about authenticity back in 1970 something. And I'm like, my queer self was like, oh, I had it worse. Yeah. So yeah, be authentic in what you do, y'all.
Maisha, top us off before we hit the Q&A.
All right. Wow. That was a really beautiful letter. Thank you for sharing that, Dia. So beautiful. I would say that I feel like I'm like the representative of the traditional pathway. So instead of just speaking for people who are interested in healthcare, medicine, just like if you're interested in the law, if you're interested in going to academia or grad school, any of these traditional careers that were not built for people who are queer and not built for people of color and not built for people who are genderqueer. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order to succeed in these structures, you got to have a team. You got to have a squad. And I think we get taught a lot about mentorship and finding mentors. And sometimes those connections can be arbitrary, but I think those connections need to be authentic too. And so it's really about finding the people that you identify with somewhere along the course of your education and reaching out to them. And I'm a little bit of a Luddite. I know LinkedIn, I know it's there, but I feel really strongly about needing to meet with people face to face. And I've met with a lot of professors face to face. Actually, that's how Evolve and I even got reconnected, was through a professor that I met face to face who said that we really needed to get in touch with one another. The piece I think that sometimes gets lost is that someone doesn't need to be older than you or further along than you in their career to help you. And I think one of the things that I've learned is about near-peer mentorship and the ways that we can really inspire each other to really live up to our fullest potential. And I have a lot of people in my circle that are just like amazing, creative, intentional, brilliant human beings that inspire me every day. And so, yeah, I would say that. I feel like I have nothing to plug, but not actually. If you have any people in the Bay that are like queer and trans and need a doctor, but I have 2 different practices where I practice. Tell them about me. I'm Googleable.
Nice. Thank you so much. Shouts out to Say No Classics. That's where we used to play basketball. Me and Maisha back in LA.
Back to Say No.
So I just bring that up to say your network, right? Like we connected here, but if I would have elbowed you on the basketball court, this panel might not even be happening, right? So we gotta start from a very young age, y'all. That was a basketball league we were in, like in middle school, high school days. So shouts out to y'all. So I want to send it over to Q&A. Dio, did you have something that you wanted to plug?
I was about to say I'm terrible at plugging. Like, I'm either the worst, best plugger of things. But yes, I want to definitely plug pridestudio.live. We're going to be relaunching this Friday. And it is a platform for queer artists of color. We have 5 artists, particularly that we're working with, who are from the south side of Chicago. And we are extremely excited to have them create and share their content. We're working with the census. The goal was to find a grant, get these people paid, especially during the age of COVID-19. We restructured from having a Pride Festival to an online platform because our goal ultimately is to make sure that like 90% of what we raise goes directly back to folks from the south side of Chicago. So, yeah.
Thank you. We will put all that information in a document and send it out to y'all because I know there's a lot of links, a lot of things to make sure that y'all have it. So I want to pass this over to, I believe Mars is doing it.
Actually, I'm going to jump in and do if that's cool, Evolve.
Okay, yep. Cool, Travis.
Once again, I want to say a very huge thank you to all of our panelists. And right now, actually, we're going to move into just a little bit of Q&A to wrap up our time here today. And really, really excited that one of the representatives from one of our sponsors this evening, the African American Resource and Cultural Center, will be with us. Sadel Suwalt, she, her pronouns, the interim program coordinator at the African American Resource and Cultural Center. Sadel, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you do your thing. But everyone, please join me in welcoming Sadel as we jump into a little Q&A.
Thank you, Travis, for that intro. So, hey, everyone. On behalf of ARC, I just want to say that we are so grateful to have Evolve and all the panelists here for this event. Thank you for sharing all of your experiences and perspectives, and also thank you for everyone attending. So we'll do a quick Q&A, but looking at the time, it looks like we'll only have time for 1 question. And then after that, we'll go ahead and do the raffle. So the first question we have for y'all is, for anyone who has worked in prison abolitionist work, how did they get into that work? And where is a good starting point to get into that work?
I think that might be just me. So I started, honestly, because I have family members and friends who've been in and out of prison and jail. And part of the reason why I've always worked in some way, shape, or form with people who've been a part of the reentry community. I don't like saying a population, but like the reentry community really is a community and help one another in so many different ways. And that's their family in and out of facilities. But I got into the work, just by, going to court, being witnesses for folks, being a character witness, writing letters as a case manager or advocate or supervisor, and honestly working directly with Department of Corrections. So Department of Corrections has a contract with the agency that I work for and literally pays my salary. And some people are like, how are you a prison abolitionist? But they pay you. But all of my clients and my coworkers know I don't believe in prisons. And part of being able to work directly with Department of Corrections is by explaining to them about triggers, explaining to them about the importance of real rehabilitation, explaining to them about how if someone relapses and they're on parole or probation, relapse is a part of recovery. You can't just violate them and then send them back and expect, all of a sudden their drug habit to go away, because there's more drugs ran through prison than there are on the streets most of the time. For me, so for me, a lot of the work, the way that I've gotten into it is really I've done trainings with police officers, sheriff's department, even border patrol. And so working directly with the system and not playing games about it. I don't pretend to agree with them. They don't pretend to agree with me. But what I do say is we both have the same goal, and that's for people not to reoffend and go back to prison. My goal is to completely destroy prisons. Your goal is to theoretically empty them out, right? And so if we're working towards the same goal of people not going back to prison, then we have to learn how to create a system and a re-entry point that supports, teaches them how to thrive and teaches them how to shift that narrative. So if you're trying to figure out how to do that, I have a master's in social work. Social work is a great way to do it. Working with young people, I started a majority of my career was working with young people, and that helped me get into that work as well. And so really advocating for youth and young adults. So yeah, that's the way that I got into it and how I found myself to be as successful with doing some shifts.
Well, thanks so much again. Really want to say a very, very special thank you to all of our panelists today. Thank you. Sir Lex, Maisha, Zami, Theo, Evolve, Maisha, y'all are amazing. Thank you. And a special shout out to all of the sponsors for this event, the Career Success Center, the African American Resource and Cultural Center, the Lionel CANTÚ Queer Resource Center. And then I know we have Rhonda Kennard here from Alumni and University Relations. Rhonda, thank you so much for coming through. It's always good to see you. And thank you for students for making time in your lives to show up and be here tonight. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much, Travis. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to BOI Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at BOI Meets Wellness. That's boy with an I. Until next time, go